Test, test.
I'm going to come in just a little bit more here. There you go. There you go. All praises be to the Most High. Make sure Royal's good up in here, right? We're good. There you go. There you go. There you go. Shalom, brothers and sisters. How you doing today, this Sabbath? Man, we're in some trying times. Some trying times today, and I thank the Almighty for His grace. It's so good to see people coming together to praise the Almighty, to thank the Most High for our families. We thank the Most High for our children. We thank Him for another opportunity to come together. We thank Him for our breath. And above all, we thank the Most High for His dear Son, Yeshua, coming to die on the cross. Yes, 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 yes. We thank Christ from the throne, Yeshua from the throne. We thank Him from the throne. Brothers and sisters, for a long time, we've been, through the Spirit of the Most High, preparing God's people for this day, for the time we're living in now. And even through this journey, what I try to do sometimes, to keep from laughing, to keep from crying, sometimes, I bring some level of joy in how I deliver the word. Even to a fault sometimes, because I don't want people to believe that I'm about joking. But we're family. And in order for us to trust each other, we have to be honest with each other. And it's important that we trust each other in this time. So you've seen different aspects of who I am, even in my fault. And I thank the Most High for that, so that you'll know me as a brother first. Okay? And to know that to every degree, even though I've been called to do a work in this day, I'm no different than you when it comes to being a son or daughter of the Most High. And through this, you're going to see quite a difference going forward. It's important that y'all got to know us from the time where, from the beginning, the only thing you seen was the serious side of things, because there's a time for all things under the sun. But then it came a time through the academy and through getting to know brothers and sisters where I seen, to some degree, some people would get uptight around me. They were afraid what they might say wrong around me. Okay? They were afraid to some degree not to offend me in fear of the Most High or in respect of the Most High, and I respected that. But then I understood by the seriousness of this work that there wouldn't be a trust unless brothers and sisters really got to know who I was, even outside of teaching and all that. Okay? We want you to be real with us. So in order for that to happen, we had to be real with you. So you see, through the Hebrew Bible Academy and Blog Talk and others, the personality side. And I thank the Most High for that. But eventually, and I think we're here, that personality must die. And I'm saying that on this Sabbath because I don't want brothers and sisters to believe that it's a joke or to some degree you put your guard down and not be serious in a moment that could mean the lives of all of us, the lives of your family, the lives of your children. Right? We don't want to become lax because we trust. And that leads us to where we are now. There's a time for all things under heaven. And brothers and sisters, this is the most prophetic time, the deepest time in all the existence of this ministry. And when I say this ministry, I'm talking about the ministry that Christ left. Blessed are your ears that you hear and your eyes that you see, because you're living in that day. We're in that day. And it comes a time, and I'm going to go into it, brothers and sisters, that we have to realize that our personal choices, in this time of uncertainty, what that will lead to. And I'm not just talking about your personal sin. What we're going into today, and I hope you all can follow me clearly here. If you are abroad, following us abroad, we welcome you here. Because what we are about to dive into applies to all believers. To all believers. And brothers and sisters, if you're out there, I need you to pan in closer here. Yeah. Oh, let me show them how to pan in closer. One moment. Because we don't need no shots here. I want to go straight in. Right? Okay. I'm sorry about that. But jumping right in. Our lesson today. The beast infrastructure. The beast infrastructure against God's people. It's implemented, is our lesson today. And we're even going to segue that into the wilderness. I'm going to tell you, we're in more trying times than most of you can believe. Uncertain times. Keep in mind, we're living in a day right now in which there's no certainty or security going forward in this world. And I need y'all to understand that Christ spoke of this. It's one thing to talk about it and say, we told you about it. But it's an entirely different thing when you have to, as a people, as a person, live through it. What do I do? Because I'm dealing with circumstances that I've never faced before. And guess what? It's on purpose. I told you, I hate to keep saying this, that I said this, that Satan is saying, look, I've provided for you. And you'll still turn to that God. I've looked out for you. I've given you promotions in my kingdom. But you still serve that God. You have a nice house compared to other people. But you still serve that God. So Satan is saying, well, listen, I'm not going to give you a piece of my kingdom and allow you to take that brick out of my kingdom to build his. So now, here's your choice. And that's what I'm hearing all over the earth right now. The concerns that people have today is not more so how they're going to make it into the kingdom, but how to secure their place in this kingdom. And through that, their decisions or how they're making decisions are clouded. They want to serve the Most High. They love the Most High, speaking of God's people, but can't let go. But can't let go. Satan is saying, well, listen, since you want to serve that God, I'm going to pull all my resources from you and then see what comes of you and that God. Now, the brothers and sisters who fall victim through fear, through lack of faith, these are they that's going to cause total destruction, not just for themselves, for those they claim to love, not realizing the choices they made, how it would affect their family first, and those they claim to love outside of their family second. The beast infrastructure against God's people, leading to the wilderness, is our lesson today. What I'm going to bring forth today, I don't think any of us went over or ever seen it in this life. Today, you're going to see something you've never seen before. Okay? In the Bible, what God said, what God prophesied would happen. It's just anomalous. It's surreal to us because we can never bring ourselves to believe that he was talking about us in this time. That's the surreal part of it. We always look at the scriptures from an outside vantage point as if it's the prophets, those Israelites that went through Egypt. We know we're Israel according to prophecy. But we still cannot come to grips when it comes to our part in Christ, in this earth today, and our work is the work that would help deliver God's people. We can't quantify that. You think you just came here to learn about the Bible and what this man is doing and what that man is doing. But now it's time to take ownership because we're here. You can sit around and sit on the internet and sit there in the day trying to just go day to day and figure out what the rules under COVID or Corona is today or tomorrow. You can do that if you would like. And to some degree, you should watch as well as pray. But I see more people dictating their life and morphing their life on what's going on and what the government is saying right now than what the Most High is saying. Mistake. Mistake. You can do both. I'm not saying to ignore what's going on, because the more you see, the more you're going to see God's prophecy, the Most High's prophecy in it. You're going to see something today that you didn't understand. Okay? We're going to have what we call a mini academy lesson today. A mini one. Leading up into tomorrow. And hey, I'm to a point where I'm like, listen, I keep on saying, get in the academy. Listen, that's on you. I'm not even going to, I don't even have to promote it anymore. I tell you what, make your own choices. But you're going to miss out, I'll tell you that. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. And we're going to be going into that tomorrow. See, when the Most High would come down into our realm, it tell you that he would bend as a bow. He would bend as a bow and come down on the congregation. That's how he came to us in the wilderness. How he came to us on Mount Sinai. How he will be the presence for us in the wilderness. But when you look at that bend of the bow, and I'm going into full detail, I'm going to show you why we're here right now. When you go into that bending of the bow, he bends, he comes down and bends as a bow. Think about it. That bow, when you do the research of it in the Hebrew and Greek, and actually break it down, it's warp. W-A-R-P. And I'm going to show you how this works. Because you can have a piece of wood that would be straight until intervention. Something on the outside affects that composition of that wood. And the wood begins to do what? Bend. Warp. That's where the word warp comes from. It's bend. You go get you a piece of wood, you look at that wood, you're like, okay, is that straight? Oh no, it's warped, it's bent. Now, here's the deep part of this. What is the Most High bending to get from where he is to where we are? You know what he's bending? Time. Listen to what I'm showing you here. Y'all seen Star Trek, warp speed? That means you can quickly get to one place to another outside of Earth's time. So time is a time stamp. The beginning and the ending of all we see right now was made in the beginning. So what happens? When the Most High intervened, because it's the waters in the waters, because what warps wood? Water. So when the Most High, with that time continuum space that he've actually created, intervenes with his own spirit, it bends so that he can come here without time, because the heavens is out of time. It's a realm that's not subjected to our time. And I'm saying this is because this is what the Most High did for the prophets. Enoch, Moses, Shem, Abraham, even before Moses, Elisha, the prophets, Elijah, Isaiah, Daniel, John the Revelator. He didn't just tell them what was to come to pass. He was able to allow them to come into time to see what would come to pass. And they seen us. They seen you. They seen the faithful and the faithless. The time we're living in was seen. But not too many people here in this earth believe the report. What are we going to show you? Today we're going to show you the internet in the Bible. Because our God seen that too. Knowing that Satan would have a short time, understanding his short time, he would need to speed up and increase knowledge in the earth, knowing that he had a short time. But he had to do it through artificial intelligence. He didn't have enough time to build his empire like he would in ancient time, like under Nimrod. Because Christ said he would do what? For the elect's sake, he would cut Satan's and this empire's time short. So he needed technology. And it was shown to Daniel. It was shown to John the Revelator. Now I'm going to go there in a moment. I'm going to show, but this is why I'm going to tell you, as a church, as a family, what I know real time that's going on in this earth right now and what you need to do. And if you don't listen, that's on you. But we being watchmen and shepherds have to do what we can to protect ourselves from those who would harm everyone. With our decisions. Everything you're hearing on the news today, the pressure they're putting on people is on purpose. So that you can make a decision against faith. Not realizing that decision isn't just going to affect you. It's going to affect everyone. Elder Lawyer, let's go to the book of Daniel real quick. And what I did here, what I've done, excuse me, is for the sake of those here, I need you to get increased, Elder Yurok, for me. For those here, because I don't want you to miss out, because I know you all be at home, you see the split screen and all that, but you know, our church family that can't gather right now, they have the luxury of sitting in their homes and just enjoying the split screens and the information before them. So I didn't want to leave you all out, my church family here. So let's go to Daniel, the 12th chapter, brothers and sisters, together. Right? Let's go to Daniel 12. Because in his sleep, the Most High took him up and showed him everything, showed him time. That was bending time between where Daniel was and the end. He showed him everything. Right? Let's read Daniel 12 and 4, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Daniel chapter 12, verse number 4.
Come on.
But thou, O Daniel.
But thou, O Daniel.
Shut up the words.
Shut up the words.
And seal the book.
And seal the book.
Even to the time of the end.
Even until the time of the end. See, that's why it took us so long to start figuring out that we as a people are actually the children of Israel. A lot of that information was sealed for a time. Now, the Most High was still protecting us. To those who are morally sound and had values, and without the law followed it anyway, Christ was with you. Listen to what I'm showing you here. But now, it's second nature to know we're Israelites now. The cat's out of the bag. A brother called into our broadcast Wednesday and said, listen, I went to my job and I seen my boss and he's sitting there on his computer under his COVID management protocol, and on his computer said, you know, that they must learn about Israelites at a corporate job outside of any religious institution. Now Now, what would that have to do with employment and where you work? Why are they studying Israelites now? Because the cat is out of the bag. They've always known. I'm not speaking of your manager at your job. The CEOs and corporations who have structured this system to oppress God's people all over the earth, like Pharaoh did in Egypt. They know that we're the Israelites. They've always known. But this was a sign for them. The sign for them so that they can speed up their progression against our God and against our people. One sign for them is when it would become second nature that the children of Israel know exactly who they are. So they have metrics also. The Most High has his metrics, and they have theirs. And when it's second nature, that all of our people, whether they want to follow it or not, have heard that they're the children of Israel, the Gentiles now have to prepare for what that means for an economy that was built on what? The labor, blood, sweat, and tears of Israelites. They have to prepare for it now. Because this means the labor force changes if these people realize that they're supposed to be free, not employed, and that the Gentiles are supposed to be employed by them. Wow. An entirely different mindset now. See? So they told us it was a separation between church and state and all that. But yet you're bringing in a religious component within a business that has nothing to do with my religious persuasion. Why? Because there's never been a separation between church and state. They've been watching us as Pharaoh, as them being Pharaoh, and us being the Israelites. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Daniel 12:4. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end.
Even unto the time of the end. Read.
Many shall run to and fro.
Many shall run to and fro.
And knowledge shall be increased.
And knowledge shall be increased. Now, at the time of the end, people shall run to and fro. To and fro. That's a highway. Information highway. And knowledge shall increase. Anything you would like to know, even something that would have taken a professor 4 to 8 years to learn 20, 30 years ago. If you apply yourself, you can learn in 2 months. It's only one way where the knowledge is running to and fro. And what? And what?
And knowledge shall be increased.
And hold up. And knowledge shall be increased. But what type of knowledge, one would ask? What type of knowledge? Now, when you go into the Hebrew, going back to our school, Hebrew Bible Academy now, just going to school for a moment. The Hebrew word for increased is rabah. It's the Hebrew Strong's number for your own research, 7235. Okay, you can write that down. Now, in the Hebrew, it says in number, process, much greater. But when you go into the blue letter, and that's what I have up in front of you here, right there on top of you. It's on your screen. When you go into the blue letter, it says to become great, many, much, numerous, large. But I need y'all to look at what it says here. To make much, to make many, to have many, to multiply, increase, to make much, to do much in respect of transgress greatly. What knowledge would increase? The access to transgress against the Almighty. Sin, the knowledge of sin will be easily accessible. And it would cause the earth altogether to sin against the Most High God of Israel. Understand this. So the knowledge is to turn the population from the God of the Bible. And this is the knowledge that was shown to Daniel. Now, of course you're saying, well, hold up. That might be a stretch. Internet, how do you put that in there? I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, I got you. Don't worry about it. I know what's in your mind. Especially for the naysayers. Oh, this guy, internet, I can see where he's coming from, but that could be totally theory. You mean he's so Daniel? A technology that would cause sin in the earth, all over the earth at one time, so that people can transgress greatly? Now, there's a stretch. I can show some examples of the divorce rate now than before the internet. Huh? I mean, when I was growing up, I think I'm showing my age right now. But the only access you had was to those you knew in your community. If you didn't run into them, if you wasn't living in the same state or city of them as they lived, then our possibilities were minimum coming up. I mean, to a degree where you're looking at the wife you're going to have or the husband you're going to have that lives around the block or around the corner. Or if you went to the army or at your job, these were the limited accesses we had, which were normal. And even that was a challenge for men. Not to get caught up with the girl around the corner. And that was back then. And this is why not too many people are marrying today, because it's like, man, there's so many choices. So many options. Only a plane ride away. So why don't I just, soar my oats all over the place until I find that perfect one? And then you realize, well, listen, why don't I just soar my oats all over the place and just soar my oats all over the place? Oh, man, I'm bored right now. Let me see that I get any hits on my Tinder account. Let me just scroll here. Oh man, I didn't see that shorty yesterday. Right? See, but that still might be a stretch. Elder Roy, let's go to Revelation. I said that time was bent, it was shown. Right? You know what? It's like, okay, Elder, you might be exaggerating here. How can you get the internet? Well, hold up now. Time was spent. Christ showed John the Revelator exactly what the Most High showed Daniel. And guess what? When you look at the book of Jubilees, he showed the same things to Moses when he was on the mount for 40 days and 40 nights. The same exact prophecies from one place to the next, but the Most High is just bringing them into time, showing them the end. lawyer, let's get Revelation 12. And let's start at about 15.
Sir. Revelation 12, verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after
It says
the
the serpent cast out his mouth, what?
water as a flood after the woman.
So he's after the woman. So we have to understand Satan's true objective. It is to kill or destroy a particular people before Christ returns. Understanding the prophecy. Believing if I destroy these people or sterilize these people or kill them off altogether, then he could overt the prophecies of the Most High delivering these same people. So the woman are the children of Israel, God's people, physical Israelites, nothing spiritual, physical people. To give it context, start at the 12th verse.
Yes, sir, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens.
Rejoice, ye heavens. This is after Christ's crucifixion. Come on.
In ye that dwell in them.
And the heavens rejoice once Christ was resurrected and shed his blood on the heavenly tabernacles for the sins of Israel. Why? Because the 12 tribes of Israel broke God's law. And under that law, it required what? An atonement for sin. Now, what better atonement or lamb without blemish than Christ's pure blood that would one day give the children of Israel access to the promise again? So the angels are rejoicing in heaven like he's doing this for his people. But Christ is like, listen, when I brought all Israel out, I'm going to show you an example of what's going on today, because there's nothing different in the wilderness now than it was back then. We're making the same choices based on insecurity, lack of faith that we made in the wilderness. I'm going to show you all that. Read.
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them.
That's the angels. Read.
Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea.
Come on.
For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
Because he know his days are ticking down. So the angels are saying, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, us that live here. Because Satan now is taking no prisoners. He couldn't get Christ. But you know who's left? Christ's people. I couldn't get him, but he's coming back for them. I have access to them. Let me now sit with my Roman elites and conspire against these people. And reward the elite and the Gentiles for destroying these people. I couldn't get their Savior. But I need to turn them to sin, because here's the rules of engagement. If I preach knowledge, I didn't force them to touch the forbidden fruit. But I'm going to put the forbidden fruit before them. Internet. Now, once they partake of that fruit, I have access. That's the rules of engagement. They're breaking God's law, so whichever law you follow is the God you serve. If you serve the law of sin, he becomes your God. So he's not going to force you. Every choice, even until the time we are bound for disobedience, will be voluntary, folks. So Satan is going to put up circumstances in which you have to make choices. That's all. Innocent choices. And he's going to have circumstances in the earth that's going to make you believe, and you're going to begin to try to resolve those choices by saying, well, you know, it's just a choice. It's not that big a deal. This is just what I'm doing for me. It's not that. You're not realizing that what you're doing is compromising your faith that you have with the Most High. That's what you're compromising. So what he'll do is he'll put something there. And it's up to you to make a choice. Right? That's how it works. Because he cannot just readily, without permission, come against God's people. But he has to create an environment of sin, so he can have easy access based on our choices to sin against God. Understand what I'm showing you right now. You have to make that. And one of his greatest tools in the satanic tool belt of these empires, his greatest tool, he pulled it out and it works every time. Racism. Why does this work more so against us than any other people? Because we've been oppressed from one empire to the next. So any nation who would treat us unjustly or inequitable automatically is a trigger for us. Because we're the people that were oppressed in Egypt. We're the people that were engaged by the king of Assyria and taken captive. We're the people that were taken down in Babylon and was destroyed and became freaked out under the Greeks. We're the people that fell to the Persians before the Greeks. We're the people that fell to the Romans. So that generational fear goes from one man, one woman who has a child into the bloodline of the next child, who don't even understand it, how they can easily be triggered. When anyone brings up a topic that has racism against them in it, that's Satan's greatest weapon to lure us into his traps. Look how many people get triggered because someone put a tweet online, or someone made a comment, a slight comment, anonymously. How someone gets triggered easily. How many people are triggered a day? Get offended and all your emotions are being changed 10, 11 times, 15, 20 times in a day, and you didn't even go outside. Who should have that much power over our emotions? Read on.
Revelation 12 and 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child.
He persecuted the people who brought forth the man-child. Now, this is how the Christian church try to play this down. They'll tell you, oh, the woman is the church. See? Now you're looking at it from a religious systemic aspect and say, well, this is only an attack on the church, without realizing that this prophecy was given to John the Revelator, an Israelite. That the woman that brought forth Christ was an Israelite. Her family were Israelites. So the woman that would be attacked and between the crosshairs of Satan in the end day, according to what's being shown to John, would be who? Israelites. The people that brought forth Christ were from the children of Israel. They weren't Jews, they weren't Jewish, they were Israelites. Okay, they were Israelites. So the woman is Israelites here. So now we understand in reading this, the targeted people by Satan according to the word. Now, mind you, Satan cares for any of us. Christ cared for Israelites and the Gentiles than Satan would. But we're dealing with this in its proper context according to the word. Okay? In particular, this isn't talking about the Gentiles that Satan is looking to destroy. There's other scriptures on this. In particular, in context, John is being shown how Satan would begin to attack the 12 tribes of Israel, mainly those in Judea, subsequent to what? To the death of Christ. He would begin to go after the disciples to martyr them, who are Israelites, and all those that have chosen Christ. Now, I'm going to go there a little later how there's a difference between those who chose Christ. But when you're living in a system in which back then, where there is no internet, where you can actually pick out who is following what and thinking a certain type of way, because he didn't have a system set up like that back then, under his AI system like he has now, he said, you know what? Kill them all. This thing about trying to find out who's going to be converted tomorrow, about who was following that guy that I almost got, but got away, who's turning people from paganism. Because you have to realize the more people following God's law, Satan has what? He has limited soldiers for his work. That limits the pool of people he can actually utilize for his kingdom. So he's like, well, listen, just kill them all. 70 AD. We ran into different parts of Africa, hid ourselves in Timbuktu and made the golden city, until Ishmael found us and told Esau. History you'll never find in your history books. Finish reading.
Revelation 12:4. And to the woman were given two wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she was nourished for a time and times and a half time from the face of the serpent.
So when it says fly into the wilderness, the original wilderness was different parts of Africa. But then, someone make sure they get seats here. Make sure they get seats. Okay. Great. Read.
Verse 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood.
So now he cast out water as a flood. Now let's examine that water as a flood. Because that wilderness isn't just Africa. It's all the places of the earth outside of our homeland, Israel. That we'll be scattered because we're wanderers in the earth until Christ brings us back into that land. And I'm going to go into that. So the whole earth became our wilderness. It's like we've been wandering earth, walking around like we did for those 40 years in the wilderness under Moses. But he cast out what?
Water as a flood after the woman.
Check this out. I love when the Most High breaks seals and bring revelation, right? Revelation 12, what verse you at, Elder Lloyd?
That's verse number 15.
15, let's do it. Now when you look at 15, it says, and the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood. That word flood, Greek, is potamos. And that's the Greek number 4215. You have it up there? Great. 4215. Now, when you look at it in the Strong's, it says what? It says a current, a brook, running water. Right? But check it out when you go further into the word. I need you all, keep that same on your own. If you get your blue letter Bible, concordance, I'm going to put it up here for those on the internet who want to see it with us today. When you look at that word, here it is, potamos in the Greek, 4215, and you read, it says a stream, streaming, a river, a torrent. Now, for those who isn't computer savvy, you have to understand what torrent means. Because I used to go to Torrent Bay years ago before the stringent rules locked down the internet while I was overseas, because I wanted to get things from America, and I was able to download programs through a torrent. Now check it out. Satan will do what? He would cast out a flood. Don't forget, in Daniel it stated, knowledge shall increase. And overflowing day and night, 24 hours a day. If you want to get something, you can get it. Ever flowing, running all the time. A stream, streaming. I'm streaming online right now. They could have called it anything. But why do they call it streaming? It's flowing. It's going through. Now check out torrent. Now, Elder Lloyd, this is what Elder Uriah and us going over. Sometimes I got to just grab you out of the house and, you know what I mean, and get you to where I am, you know, sometimes. But I don't like to bother people. But, man, you know, I'll be jumping up and down looking at this stuff. Right? When you look at that torrent, it breaks it down. A torrent. A stream. Now there's something else that I had on torrent. The definition of torrent, I have it on the screen here. You have it on the dictionary.com there? On the dictionary.com, when you look up torrent, it says what? Check this out. Let me pull up my brothers and sisters online. It says physical geography. A fast, voluminous, or violent stream of water or other liquid. Check out what it says on the second definition for torrent. An overwhelming flow of thoughts, words, sound, etc. You can get every thought on the internet. Sound, if you want your music, you can get it on the internet through the torrent, through the streaming, where knowledge would increase. An overwhelming flowing of thoughts. Twitter. This is what the president thought today. Let me go back 10 years back and look at Kevin Hart's thoughts 10 years ago concerning the letter people. Let's go back to the book of Revelation real quick. Hold on, let's make sure they see it online. Make sure they see what we see. What? The devil can't hide. I tell you right now, he never could hide. I'm going to show you what this means for us today. Finish the book of Revelation, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir. Revelation 12 and 15. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman.
After the woman. It's to target God's people. Why? Because, let me tell you, folks, I don't care what the powers that be says about you. We were always the people that had a culture that upheld values, that upheld certain values on the earth. Even in our ignorance, there was a default value valve in us that made us regard, we're some of the most trusting people, loving people. Look what they've done to us, and we still love them. So even though he's looking to take the whole earth, Satan himself, even the Gentiles, he had to establish something that would distract us and break us at the most, I would say, heightened time of communication in the earth between God and his people. He would bring forth a stream to do what? To interfere with the Most High signal. That signal, when we began to wake up, they knew that what? That thing bent. And he began to talk to each individual. And he had to interfere with that signal because what? There's no university or church anywhere in the earth that was teaching God's name. He knew that came from the throne. He knew it. Out of nowhere, I've spoken to people privately, and without them even thinking about it online. That's why I'm amazed with some of the conversations I have through the week, where some people just came out of nowhere and would think to themselves, not that they're the children of Israel. They said, some sister called me a couple of weeks ago, and you hear some of the testimonies online. Well, one day I was just online, and I just wanted to know who were the 12 tribes of Israel, and your video came up. So it's not that the video came up, the thought came first. From where? The throne. And they typed in 12 tribes, and they just see two cats from North Philly sitting there. And the most I was like, there you go. Look, just look at it. So Satan understands how this works. He understands the signal. The Most High is always communicating. But Satan needs what? He needs to play interference because why? The rules of engagement is that he cannot touch the anointing. We have to volunteer ourselves to him. Understand what I'm showing y'all here. He can't voluntarily just touch you. He had to even ask for permission for Job. So understand your power, and I'm going to say this because a lot of us walk in fear, not having, with no need to. That's another tool Satan uses. Racism, and he used fear to get access to you. If he could just take you all together all at once, he would have done it already. And that leads us to where I'm going at in this lesson today. That leads us where I'm going. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Revelation 12, verse 16. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth.
So the earth helped the woman and swallowed up the flood, the lies, the information that the Most High would have what? Sealed by the sons of Zadok near the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of you don't know that when you hear the word Essenes, you don't even relate it to yourself. You were the Essenes. The Essenes were from the priesthood. These were the sons of Aaron, Levi, priest, who broke away during the time of Babylon because the priesthood was tainted. And the Most High severed the family of Zadok. For who? For Aaron's sake. The Babylonians had a hit out on them to try to kill them. So the Most High made an area of protection. These were your people, like the Haitians today, Levi. Like a lot of the witch doctors and all that, that's over in Africa right now, who are the priests that everyone goes to, but yet they're dealing with dark magic. These are Levites. Well, guess what? The Most High severed out a segment of these black men to do what? To scroll the whole Old Testament and other pre-flood records and put it in earthy pots so that the earth, with the Most High's power, would preserve it in the earth for the end, so that now when it opens up at the end, no one can say, well, listen, that information was tampered with. So with the doctrine of understanding the records that were hidden, we have the complete narrative now. It's just giving us a clearer understanding of the Bible. The same understanding Christ had, the disciples had, before the flood came and began to take us over, before the fall of 70 AD. It's given us a clearer narrative. But you know what? I'm going to show you how powerful the Most High is. He knew that knowledge would increase. There's good things you can find on the internet too. Constructive things, good things, just like the tree had good and evil. So what did the Most High say? Y'all go bump up on that stream real quick. They can't stop you from streaming there. So now this what was created is doing what? Disrupting Satan's signal. His signal is being disrupted. He disrupted the Most High signal, and he's using Christ's church to disrupt Satan's. This knowledge shall be taught throughout the four corners of the earth, and the end shall come. So the Most High seen this stream being used to do what? To gather the elect to the elect. So this is why we're under so much restriction right now. I'm going there now. Finish reading.
Revelation 12, verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
So the eventual war would be the remnant of her seed. The people who are still left in this earth, who genetically connects back to the 12 tribes of Israel. This is a physical seed here. And this is the reason, folks, they've targeted our seed through Planned Parenthood, abortion. How organically they'll come up with some story and show an example of some liberal white woman saying that I have the right to choose. But yet, all of the abortion baby killing clinics are in the majority of black and brown people's neighborhoods. So they got to always give you a white story or an Asian story first so that you don't know they're really attacking you. That's their old game. Oh, COVID-19, you can't say that's a racial genocide targeting black people. Tom Hanks had it. See? See what they do? But then at the end of the day, when you look at all the areas being shut down, it's where we live. I mean, I'm going to show you that they're using the same tactics as Pharaoh did before the Most High freed us. Same tactics. Deception. They're deceptive, sideways attacking so that they can now have plausible deniability. Plausible deniability. Listen, we didn't plan it that way. I mean, they went from all deaths, 2 million people by November, dead, gone, dead. Everybody stay home. Then it went from there to where, yeah, we really got to wrap this up. There's a lot of cases in this area today. What suitcases? What cases? Do you notice the narrative change every day concerning this thing? But that's what they did in Egypt. They had circumstances where, make bricks without straw. You thought that he was just a decree. No, that was a government scenario first where straw was just held up from leaving the barns with all the hay still there. And then it was giving excuses. Oh, a bridge fell out today, or this, that, the other. And here it is. We just found other things, consistency to actually substitute from straw. But keep in mind, it was more expensive, it was more taxing, more work on our part to have to make that same amount of bricks. But it was legislation where they went through the economy and all that. You can't use straw. That's how they did that. Because don't forget, folks, in servitude in Egypt, when you do the research, it's not how they have you believing it was. There was still a caste system to a certain degree, even amongst our people, where you had the do good Israelites, and you had those that were just at the bottom. Same thing. So we were still doing better. It wasn't, oh, it's me, woe is me. It wasn't what we were seeing in America with cotton bells on our back. No, we ruled Egypt before we fell in Egypt. We never ruled here. So I'm giving you the historical narrative illustrating this so that you can understand there's no difference than what happened back then to what we are experiencing now, so that we can make the proper choices. Finish reading, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir. Revelation 12, verse 17.
Come on.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
With the remnant of her seed.
Which keep the commandments of God.
Now this is who Satan is looking to attack between the crosshairs. Those that do what?
Which keep the commandments of God.
Which follow the laws in the Bible. Who keep the commandments. So when the pagans took over and established America with their pagan churches, they started teaching a false doctrine that the law is done away with. Why? Because through sin, Satan would have constant generational access to us, to destroy us, to keep us dysfunctional. The law brings order. The law clears it all up where there's no confusion in our choices. Satan can't use that. He's the author of confusion. Take away that law. Teach them they're under grace. Tell them they can sin and be rewarded. I'll hook them up. Give them houses, cars, ships. Sin against your God. Tell them the law is done away with. When really, these are they who Satan was targeting. Those that did what?
Which keep the commandments of God.
Which believe in the laws of Moses. Follow the law of Moses and teach those laws to their children. And what?
And have the testimony of Yeshua the Anointed.
And have the testimony of Christ. These who they're targeting, who Christ showed John the Revelator in the book of Revelation. Folks, these are they who will rule the world. That's why Satan is after them. Think about it. These are who cannot be bought through bribery. A gift don't spoil their heart. These are they who will choose God first, Christ first, even if it means their life. These are those who aren't going to compromise. Elder Lawyer, let's give some examples real quick. And when I say the earth shall help the woman, there's record. Like the book of Jasher. Now, for those who are fairly new and don't know what the book of Jasher is, if you're in this church, you know what the book of Jasher is. You can have some pagan devil or someone who don't have enough knowledge to understand its worth come to you and tell you, oh man, you deal with those books. Yeah, I deal with those books. Just like I deal with the books that are contained in the Bible. Yeah, I deal with those books. Why? Don't say you uphold the Bible, then look to reject a book the Bible refers you to give you what? Deeper context. And our people seeketh a sign. If anyone need things to be broken down to the lowest level, it's we do, because we've been targeted. Socially, mentally, and otherwise. So the Most High has to make it simple for us with the examples. This is the historic examples that are written of in His scrolls. So first of all, let's get the Bible to show you that it was written in the book of Jasher, right? So that the naysayers can be knocked down first, because the Bible says that earth is going to help the woman. So we're going into some of the books that will help us get through this, understand the true narrative of the Bible. Let's get Joshua 10 and 13 and 2 Samuel 1 and 18. Right?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
The book of Joshua 10, verse 13. And the sun stood still and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies.
Come on.
Is not this written in the book of Jasher?
So anyone that'll sit there and tell you, oh, well, I don't know. No, what they don't want to admit there's something they haven't researched yet. That's pride keeping them from reading the book or understanding the book. God said read the book of Jasher. It's in the Bible you claim to uphold. But what you are afraid of, you may find something in the book of Jasher that compromises your false doctrine. That's your issue. You have a lot of explaining to do. And you are afraid that others in the congregation are going to look and say, okay, if you lied about this book, can I trust anything else you've said up until this time? So they'll just dismiss it all together. And sometimes you don't have to tell. They think our people, and the powers that be, especially the Jesuits and the apologetics and others, they believe our people are so stupid. And they do. Because they talk to you like you're 3-year-olds. They think they can explain things off by saying things like, how? It's not spiritually inspired. That sounds intelligent, doesn't it? So, do you determine what's spiritually inspired, sir? Or do God? So you're the authority? No, it's not in spirit. It's not spiritually inspired for you, because you know it's talking about us. Okay? Finish reading the next one, Elder Lawyer, just to give confirmation, because the Bible says prove all things.
2 Samuel 1, verse 18.
Come on.
Also he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow.
Come on.
Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher.
It is written in the book of Jasher. Now the Bible refers us to Jasher, folks. I've read the whole book of Jasher. Studied it up, down, all around. I know the book. The Bible says the earth would help the woman. I understand the context. I understand what we dealt with socially and economically in Egypt, because Jasher gives you the minute details from the time Joseph went into Egypt, how he moved into high political status in Egypt, how he got there. It gives you a more detailed story than what you can read in the book of Genesis, which Genesis is really an overview of hundreds of years, sometimes thousands of years. But Jasher and Enoch gives you the minute details that we can compare our society to. Right? Now I'm going into the book of Jasher, and I'm going there, right? Because I'm going to show you some of the trickery of Pharaoh. The trickery of Pharaoh. Okay? Because Pharaoh say one thing, but you can't look at what Pharaoh say. You have to understand what Pharaoh's intentions are by what he does. The same way you're going to hear a different kicking this COVID corona thing down the line over and over again. No, you can't hear what they say. You must look at the laws being implemented. That's the full purpose of all this. The infrastructure of the beast right up under our feet. With their primal target, according to Revelation, their primal aim is to destroy those who keep the commandments and hold the testimony of Christ. That's what you have to understand. These restrictions being put in place is for Satan's evil purpose against us. Come on, let's read it. We go into the book of Joshua 6 and 5. Let's read. 65. Let's read 65. Let's go.
Yes, sir. The book of Joshua, chapter 65, verse 1.
Come on.
And it came to pass after these things that all the counselors of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and all the elders of Egypt assembled and came before the king and bowed down to the ground, and they sat before him.
Now, this is the administration, the government of Egypt we're reading about right now. Now, what are they talking about amongst the councils? Congress, Senate, all that, because this is what this is. An administrative meeting with Pharaoh. Read.
Verse 2. And the counselors and elders of Egypt spoke unto the king, saying, Behold, the people of the children of Israel is greater and mightier than we are.
They are growing. Somebody cut lawyer Mike up just a little bit. They are growing. Not too much. Go on, other lawyer.
Yes, sir. The rest of verse 3. And thou knowest all the evil which they did to us in the road when we returned from battle.
So now they are focusing on in Egypt what? The growth through what? Procreation. Now, we're minding our business. We're just doing our daily tasks, not bothering anyone, having children like everyone else. And these people, Pharaoh and others, are having a meeting about how many children we're having. We're not bothering anyone. We're having fun. Lawful fun. So you would think something as innocent as raising your family, it's not like it's what we're doing. We wasn't shooting each other on the block and all that back then. We just want to grow as a people, love our family, keep the traditions of our forefathers, and teach righteousness to our offspring. That's not too much to ask for. But yet, that's a problem for some people. That's why I don't understand how people want to talk this, that, and the other about Israelites. When the only thing Israelites are saying, I'm talking about those that have any spiritual prowess, because their focus should be Christ and teaching God's law. There shouldn't be nothing wrong with them telling people in a country where our people are lawless to come back and follow the laws of the Bible? What's so wrong about that? Well, that's wrong with Satan because he don't have access. He can only get access through sin. So these guys are like, man, how many children they got? Another baby came today? They still delivering? And they, to a degree where Pharaoh and all of his administration had to sit down and have a meeting about this. So people talk about Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger, the devil's spawn. Yeah, she was evil. The witch is burning in hell right now. But what she was bringing forth isn't anything new. She was following Pharaoh's manifesto. His script. Read.
Verse 4. And thou hast also seen their strong power, for this power is unto them from their fathers. For but a few men stood up against a people numerous as the sand, and smote them at the edge of the sword, and of themselves not one has fallen.
And look at that. He says, and you know they can fight. And you know they can fight. So what's going on here? You know what they're doing? These women, these strong, virile women, are rearing a potential army one day that will come against us. Because these young boys coming out, they're running fast. They're strong. They go into war, not lose one man. Bringing it into our times, the wars when Hitler was there, World War II, when you look at Hitler told America, yeah, of course you can win, but take out the no-tail bear and see how you fare. He was calling the no-tail bear us. When you look at secret ops and all that, that all started with them doing what? Releasing black people in areas of war because it was illegal for us to actually be in the armies, to be actually enrolled in certain things. So they had to have it where they called it black ops. So that there's no names, there was no names or role that these people have ever been enlisted. It started with black people. So if they needed a mission done off the books, they would use this special unit of black men. And that created black ops. They would just put us in and just, listen, y'all go run in there and just tear up that village and all that. And, you know, off the record, that was us. So Hitler said, you take out the no-tail bear, we will beat you easily. And I'm putting this out there to say, well, listen, that's why we have to stop dealing with this, I'm going to tell you, with this trigger thing when it comes to racism, because keep in mind, folks, that's why they want you to celebrate Black history, national anthem, racism, and look at it like that way, because what they want you to believe is that American history isn't great because of black people. American history, everything that's great about American history is black history. And they know it. They know it. That's what's great. Not about the guys who just draft the legislation. They're just the intellects behind it. The academia behind it. But you need what? You need a well-manned war to maintain such a power. And when you look at all their wars, guess who was winning them for them? Y'all better wake up. It's no coincidence. Before you come out of the 9th grade, there's some guy standing there in a full army suit saying, well, yeah, man, yeah, you ever think about enrolling? Yeah, you can get a better education. You want to get out of the hood? This is what they understood. That the Most High has a certain spirit on us. That when we're aimed and focused towards an enemy that's going to destroy us, the men react in a way that's beyond phenomenal. Supernatural from their vantage point. And this is why they targeted our men now. They took it to the next level now. We need to make these men into women. We have to. We have to. We can begin the transition early, get them on medication, and lower their hormones. This ain't targeted towards other races like that. We have abortion clinics in our area, in our neighborhoods. They have fertility clinics in theirs. So if it was about the earth being too populated, they wouldn't have fertility clinics. Same plan. They just perfected it to the next degree. But I'm going to the book of Joshua because Joshua give us more detail. And then I'm coming here for what? At the end of this? I guess I'll go into the wilderness next week because there's so much I have to deal with the infrastructure. I will go into the wilderness next week. Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Joshua 65, verse 5. Now, therefore, give us counsel what to do with them, until we gradually destroy them from amongst us.
Let's counsel on what we are to do with these people, minding their business, having children, strong children. Lest they do what?
Lest they become too numerous for us in the land.
Read.
For if the children of Israel, it should increase in the land, they will become an obstacle to us, and if any war should happen to take place, they with their great strength will join our enemy against us and fight against us and destroy us from the land and go away from it.
Come on.
And the king answered, verse 7, and the king answered the elders of Egypt and said unto them, this is the plan advised against Israel, from which we will not depart. Behold, in the land are Pithom and Ramesses, cities unfortified against battle. It behooves you and us to build them and to fortify them.
Let's build some new cities and fortify them. Now check this out. They came up with what? A project. Two birds with one stone. They wanted these temples built. But now we can use something on the books that can eventually begin to separate and oppress the children of Israel separate from us, because they have positions here up in Upper Egypt. So we need a project in which we can move them away from us to conspire against us. Keep in mind, during the Hyksos period, what happened? We became, under Joseph, what? We became the rulers in Upper Egypt. During this time of the Hyksos period, it was told to the Egyptian priests that they must take out all their gods in the temple and worship the one God that saved Egypt through the famine. They was only acknowledging God Almighty, the God of Joseph. Time went by, and eventually what happens is we began to multiply. We're winning wars for them, but no, they're not looking to appreciate and become grateful for the wars we're winning for them. They're seeing this valor and this strength as a future enemy. That's how these Gentile powers think. It's not to give credit for you winning the country for them, because in their mind, they're supposed to rule the country. It's theirs to rule. So they still need some form of control within its society to make sure that they can use just enough of our strength to keep the empire afloat, but not allow that strength to grow beyond measure. Population control. See? Now, if you have someone that doesn't walk with the Spirit of Christ and don't understand the full picture that the Most High showed the prophets, you would have one become unhinged and become radicalized. And look at this and say, man, we got to do something. Lord, they're going to play this against us. Hey, man, hey, it's time to fight. Nah, you're simple as a day's old. Because if you can take anything from what these guys are doing at their concert, they are orchestrating a plan against God's people without violence. So we have to understand that the Most High has given us an insight. And the greatest weapon we can have, the greatest form of protection we can have, is actually knowing what they're going to do before they do it. And plan accordingly to protect ourselves. Not to focus on becoming radical and going against another people. No, that's not what the Most High wanted in this. And I'm going to go over that. But I'm showing you how governments sustain their power. And think about it now. You're talking about what, 300 million people in America in itself? And we're near probably 20% of it, or whatever the case is. 300 million people. So they have to put some serious draconian rules in place to control such a population. And that's understandably so. But now that they have it in place, we have to understand how some of these things in place negatively affect us and steer ourselves away from it. And this is why I'm going into the Bible today concerning the infrastructure of the beast. So you can use wisdom on your jobs and what choices to make. If you have to have a job, you can use wisdom when it comes to a choice of whether or not you have to walk away from it. And what choices and what plans you will have in place, calculating the fact that one day you're going to have to walk away. So you're not triggered emotionally. And I have so many people, man, I've been dealing with this for 10, 15 years. How can they do this to me? And da. Oh, that's the issue. You thought when you were hired with all your so-called accomplishments you had, that these people really cared about you. Oh, that's what you thought. No. It's business. And it's not just about us. This is how they do business with everyone. A cat can work there, he can be up there all the way, 50 years, 60 years, and they were like, man, boy, you gave the better part of your life for this company. And it could be a white guy standing there. Yeah. I mean, I put my heart and soul, look what we've built. He says, yeah, look what we've built. And and then he'll look at him and say, well, you know what? Here's a gift card and an ink pen. Thank you for your service. Y'all have to stop emotionally investing in servitude. If it's business for them, it's what for us? Business for us. And if it's business for us, whose business takes priority? The Most High's business. Finish reading, Elder Lloyd.
Verse 9. Now therefore, You also go and act cunningly toward them, and proclaim a voice in Egypt and in Goshen at the command of the king, saying, All ye men of Egypt, Goshen, Pathros, and all their inhabitants, the king has commanded us to build Pithom and Ramesses, and to fortify them for battle. Who amongst all of you of Egypt, of the children of Israel, and of all the inhabitants of the cities, are willing to build with us? Such shall each have his wages given him daily at the king's order. So go you first and do cunningly, and gather yourselves, and come to Pithom and Ramesses to build.
See what they just did there? They didn't force us into captivity. They offered a contract. We builded a new contract, a new city, and you people, Israelites here, have the first dibs and all the business that comes with building these new constructs, these cities. Like who would deny that? Top wages for building cities. That means, man, I'm going to have a job for the longest. I can later on down the line, I can teach my son to do it. We're going to get paid. This is a government contract. Not realizing that it was to move certain people from outside of their jurisdiction so that they can plan the second wave of destruction against us. They always offer it as a caveat initially. Now, I'm going here to show you how governments think in respect of us. They've always done this. So what can we offer? So it doesn't matter what it is. They understand what you want, what you need, and they'll sit in these offices and say, well, listen, they like to do this, they like to do that, they want this, they want that. Let's offer that, because we can use that as a pretext to move them for our eventual plan against them on the next wave. That's how it works. It's never what they tell you. Come on.
Verse 11. And whilst you are building, cause a proclamation of this kind to be made throughout Egypt every day at the command of the king. And when some of the children of Israel shall come to build with you, you shall give them their wages daily for a few days. Verse 13.
Come on.
And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them.
Drag yourselves away from them. So now, use a pretext to do what? Separate yourself. See? Use an event or something else where it can be like, well, listen, that's not me. That's y'all. Read.
Drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one, in secret.
In secret.
And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters.
And hold up. Then what?
And then you shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers.
Then we're going to give you power as management over them. What are we talking about, folks? When you think of servitude, see, a lot of us are stuck into this new form of captivity we see in America. And every time we think slavery, we think slave ships and whips, chains, and roots, foot being cut off and all this other. That was part of their programming, folks. Let me tell you, folks, servitude is employment. That's what it is. When Christ returns, he's freeing us from employment. And I'm saying this is because, of course, they sensationalize it to a degree in which it becomes a badge of honor if you have any particular job. When the greatest job is the job you produce for yourself. That's the greatest job. Employment is servitude. Okay? Need y'all to think about this. Let's look at Bill Gates. We understand who he is and what he's about and all that, but he's going to serve his God. And he's going to deal with the judgment for whatever he's doing. But my focus is not Bill Gates. My focus is, what are we going to do knowing that someone like this exists? Right? Pharaoh existed. Others existed. They're going to do what they're going to do. Now, one thing I can look at Bill Gates, if you want to pull anything from Bill Gates in particular, is that they'll tell us that giving money for grants and HSBCUs and all that and get a good education is all we need, which I believe becoming more intelligent and smart is something that, you can't shake a stick at. It's beneficial to some degree, but that's not the all to end all. Huh? When you look at it, Bill Gates, he dropped out. He went to college and said, I ain't nothing I have here. I'm getting this is nothing for me. Because he was raised in an environment that understands what true power is. He's like, listen, why do I got to spend all these years and go in debt and go through all this and waste my time, but I can use the same time to build something that would have a lasting impact on society. I have the information now. What do I have to wait 4 years for? These guys drop out and go to a cave in Tibet somewhere. A demon shows up and say, hey, you ready for the real education? You want the real knowledge? And I'm saying that is because we've been deterred into believing when they began to accept us in their schools and educate us and give us the information, understood that that was a conspiracy in itself also. Because there was no need. They already had the levels of academia separate from us established already. So it was that's like giving us the right to vote after the system is rigged from the base all the way to the top of the roof. The system is already rigged and now you can vote in it. The same thing with schools. We've set up our standard of academia that will always have taskmasters over you, so come to school. Compromise your morality. We're going to use these schools so that you can now compromise your morality and question your God. And then when you leave, you have a piece of paper that isn't worth the debt. Would you rather have that piece of paper or the money that's owed for that piece of paper? So if they really cared about you, they wouldn't give you the piece of paper. You would leave high school and they would actually put in your bank account the amount it would have took to be in debt for that piece of paper. Give me the money and I'll buy my own education. Listen, and I'm just giving you some insight here because that's a racket. Because not only, it's a shame that when you leave school, you walk away actually celebrating brothers and sisters living in debt. You sit there throwing your hat up. No, you know what you mean? Satan is throwing his hat up. Like he's the one celebrating. The deans are celebrating. The university is celebrating. Because what? You are tied to them like a ball and chain into perpetuity. Think about that. You say, oh, God, yeah, I made it. Like, listen, the dean is doing a Dougie upstairs. Okay? Under COVID right now, what good is your degree? To show you how it's their psychology, folks. Their psychology. psychology is second to none. They can have you celebrate your own death. They can have you celebrate. You're dying and feeling good. Oh yeah, you're fighting cancer. Fight. You sitting there just almost flatlining. But because it's telling you just fight it, there's psychology. I'm going to show you how we bring this all around because it all encompasses what I'm talking about today. Finish reading, Elder Lloyd.
Yes, sir. Verse 13. And after they shall have built with you for their daily hire, drag yourselves away from them daily, one by one in secret, and then ye shall rise up and become their taskmasters and officers, and ye shall lead them afterward to build without wages, and should they refuse, then force them with all your might to build.
If they refuse, that's after you have them acclimated and move them first. If they refuse, now you bring on some of the more draconian pressures. Because what happens is what our people do and we're good at convincing ourselves that what we're going through will only be temporary. We're so good at that. Oh yeah, but he came in with an attitude today, but I don't know what side of the bed he woke up on, but he's all right. He spoke nice to me last week. No, this dude hates you. This guy wants to kill you. And you'll still be like, oh, maybe if I just put a little bit more sugar in his tea. We're good at not accepting reality. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. It's common sense. Something started to change, and we, in fear of what we know is true, will make an alternate reality to actually survive in that circumstance. This is how we were able to cope in slavery for so long. We had to find a silver lining in servitude. We had to find comfort or a cool breeze in serving. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I don't know about that master over there in that plantation, but that master, he's evil. What you talking about he's evil? What you talking about, girl? We had 7 hours in church today. He only let them gather for 3. Now, I'm glad I'm over here. I'm glad I'm on this side. We're good at that. We're good at making a comfort zone instead of dealing with reality. And that's what's going on with Corona right now. That's what's going on with the pressures that are being put on us. Oh man, I'm glad I'm not living in that area. I'm glad I'm not in that area. Oh, you think it stops where you think it's going to stop in your area eventually? I'm going to go through all of this. Read.
Verse 14. And if you do this, it will be well with us to strengthen our land against the children of Israel. For on account of the fatigue of the building and the work, the children of Israel will decrease, because you will deprive them from their wives day by day.
Conspiracy. Separating the man from his woman. Sounds familiar? Now they have jails, but, See? Same plan. Because we're the people. But they can't engage us all at once. It's like the Egyptians couldn't engage us all at once. Because they understand when we rally together, the man upstairs work. Oh, they're not fighting against each other. They're unified all together. And you mean to tell me there's no one else pulling their strings? This is an organic gathering that's going on with these people? Okay. All right, Uriel, go down there and help him. Gabriel, go there. But Christ, who else we got? Get him down there. Help him. That's how it works. So they can't engage us like they would like to, like they want to. But if they could, they would. So they use trickery, psychology. Read.
Verse 15. And all the elders of Egypt heard the counsel of the king, and the counsel seemed good in their eyes and in the eyes of the servants of Pharaoh.
Now these are what we would call today your elected officials. What we're reading right now is the what? The cabinet, the official cabinet for Pharaoh's government. They're shaping legislation against us. Now, on the surface, we are celebrating amongst ourselves, saying we're about to get paid, man. We're about to have our own contracts and have our own building. Hey, you know, we dancing and singing. We telling our baby, we got it. We're moving on up. Oh, you gonna build? You don't put that extension on our house? You know? Oh yeah, baby. The way we're gonna build this thing. Hey, I'll give you 2 extensions on the place we got. And we sit there celebrating. Oh, we singing and all that. And this is what's going on. Read.
Verse 16. And all the servants went away from the king, and they caused a proclamation to be made in all Egypt, and in Tahpanhes,
A law.
and in Goshen, and in all the cities which surrounded Egypt, saying, You have seen what the children of Esau and Ishmael did to us, who came to war against us and wished to destroy us. Now therefore, the king commanded us to fortify the land, to build the cities of Pithom and Ramesses, and to fortify them for battle, if they should again come against us.
Come on.
Whoever of you from all Egypt and from the children of Israel will come to build with us, he shall have his daily wages given by the king, as his command is unto us.
Come on.
Verse 20. And when Egypt and all the children of Israel heard all that the servants of Pharaoh had spoken, there came from the Egyptians and the children of Israel to build with the servants of Pharaoh Pithom and Ramesses. But none of the children of Levi came with their brethren to build.
Levi knew better. Levi knew better. Like, and you know Levi, he's probably talking to his family. Listen, they tricking us, man. We're fine right here. Why all of us have to move? Why is it all of a sudden that these people care about us? Levi said, listen, you all can go. I'm all right. Read on.
Verse 21. And all the servants of Pharaoh and his princes came at first with deceit to build with all Israel as daily hired laborers. And they gave Israel their daily hire at the beginning. And the servants of Pharaoh built with all Israel and were employed in that work with Israel for a month. And at the end of the month, all the servants of Pharaoh began to withdraw secretly from the people of Israel daily.
See what happened? We were tricked. Folks, we're being tricked right now. We're being tricked. But it's okay. Because they're going to do what they're going to do. We were told that the mark of the beast was coming. So if you're waiting for them to do a mark of the beast report, like they're doing a COVID report, don't hold your breath. We have to go by what was shown to John on the Isle of Patmos and Daniel and Moses. We're being tricked. Now, I would go into the brick and straw, but through time, I think y'all get the gist of that. Let's go to Exodus 6, 1 through 14 real quick. Let's just get that piece. Huh? Oh, Exodus 5. Okay, 1. You gotta look like a 6 here, young man. Exodus 5, the first verse. Now, why am I going? I'm going to read this all the way down so that you can understand what's going on right now. Because the majority of pressure that's going on right now is what? For our people? Employment. The fact that there's unemployment that have skyrocketed due to this on purpose. And those who feel that they'll be grateful or are grateful to have a job when so many people are out of jobs. Pressure. What we're about to show you today, folks. And what Satan knows is, there's this old saying when we grew up, pressure burst pipes. And folks, that pressure that's going to be put on our people, and the people who are emotionally unhinged, and I hate to say this, especially women, who can be triggered through fear. It's not your fault. The Bible says, give honor to the woman as the weaker vessel. It takes less to break a man. It takes less, to break a woman. You can break a man, but it takes less to break a woman. You can threaten a woman with certain scenarios, and through fear, she'll give in. And that's just a woman being a woman. It's very, like, if you think about it, folks, not too many women we've seen in this earth, how we've been conditioned, would be like that woman who stood there and courageous against the king with her 4 sons being tortured before in the book of Maccabees. Not too many women could stomach that. As a matter of fact, I don't even know how that woman stomached it. I don't know if I could have stomached it, and I'm a man. But folks, listen to what I'm about to show you and what we know 100% sure that's going on, and it's going to blow your mind, and it links directly to the internet and streaming what I was talking about. I know it took me being long-winded to get around, but I'm coming around here. Because first I had to highlight, according to the Bible, who's being targeted and why and what they'll use. Oh, I'm back. Yeah, give it to me. Take that. Got it? All right. Okay, it's back. All right, it's back. All right, finish reading?
Yes, sir. Exodus chapter 5, verse number 1. And afterward Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness.
Let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me. Now let's speak of the God of Israel. The God who delivered his name to Moses. Now before Moses, he says, listen, I presented myself to your fathers as God Almighty. But as the name Ahiah, they did not know me. That's the name that was given to Moses. Now I know it says Jehovah in the Bible, but they placed that there. How do we know they placed that there? Because how could Abraham name the mount of sacrifice Jehovah Jireh if that was his name? So we know Jehovah wasn't the name because it tells you the mount that Abraham was shown to sacrifice Isaac, he named it Jehovah Jireh. So that name wasn't presented to Abram. Ahiah is the name. Read.
Verse 2. And Pharaoh said, who is the Lord that I should obey his voice to let Israel go?
So who is your God? Because out of all the gods within the Egyptian pantheon, they knew no such God named Ahiah in Egypt. They knew no such. The Egyptians worshiped all the fallen gods, all the gods of the pagan pantheon. Even the god Yah was worshipped in Egypt. You can find the tetragrammaton Yahweh because he was the god of the Shashu. The Shashu, believe it or not, folks, is the Egyptian name for who? Esau. So the god of the Shashu was Yahweh, Yah. So they didn't know that God. They didn't know the God Moses. He's like, well, okay. You say a God sent you? Look at the gods in our temple. The priests come. Do we know such a God? Is he's on our list, our pantheon of gods? I know we never heard that. We heard of this God, that God. We heard of the Persian gods. We heard of the Canaanite gods. We heard of the ancient gods of Mesopotamia, the Babylonian gods. We know not a God named Ahiah. We don't know this God. Who is he? Because don't forget, even back then, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob knew him as who? God Almighty. So they would just refer to him. Now, if he would have said Yah, they would have actually referred to him and said, okay, what Yah? Because Yah is also recognized under ancient Babylon as the moon god, and was the moon god in Egypt also. See? So if he would have said Yah, they would have recognized the God of Moses. But they didn't know Ahiah. The whole earth, none of the earth knew of a God named Ahiah amongst the Gentile powers. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. And they said, the God of the Hebrews have met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto the Lord our God.
Now this is the Most High freeing his people, asking the Pharaoh to allow us to serve our God freely. Now this is nothing against Pharaoh. This is not to stop Pharaoh from worshiping the God he's worshiping. You understand? He wasn't saying, well, our God said stop worshiping this God. No. You can do what you're doing. Allow God's people to serve their God. What's wrong with that? But no, Pharaoh couldn't go for that. Why? If I lose these people, what of my wars? These people are the salt of the earth. Can you imagine a society without God's people? He's like, I'm not letting them go. Their culture makes Egypt. I'm not letting them go. Read.
Verse 3. And they said, the God of the Hebrews have met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. And the king of Egypt said unto them, wherefore do ye, Moses and Aaron, let the people from their works get you into your burdens. Verse 5. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and ye shall make them rest from their burdens. And Pharaoh commanded the same day the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore, let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the tale of the bricks which they did make heretofore, ye shall lay upon them, ye shall not diminish aught thereof, for ye be idle, for they be idle, Therefore they cry, saying, let us go and sacrifice to our God.
Come on.
Verse 9. Let their more work be laid upon the men, that they may labor therein, and let them not regard vain words. Verse number 10. And the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, Thus saith Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. Go ye, get you straw where you can find it, yet not aught of your work shall be diminished. So the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw.
So read that again.
So the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw.
So in response of our people waking up to their God and choosing to no longer want to participate and deal with the wickedness and the oppression of Egypt, in response of that, what did the government do there? Let's oppress them through more work. We will actually use employment as a form of weaponry to keep them in order. Weaponizing employment. Make it harder for them through their jobs. Through their jobs. I hope you follow me here. How many of you noticed that things have changed at the job? For those who are still working, raise your hand. Right? So we need to get in front of this. Right? So, I'm about to go into the grid and how this affects what's going on with within our jobs. Employment. Now, how many of you who have jobs went back and really nothing has changed at all? Raise your hand. 2 hands? 3. I need to find out what job y'all doing. All right, hold tight. I'll be right back. 1 moment. Stick with me. Okay. Now we understand that what's really going on is pressure being applied to God's people, because why? God's people are waking up, the Most High's people, the same as we were coming out of Egypt. And what Pharaoh did back then is what modern day Pharaoh in this earth, and you can believe it's just one person if you want, but it's the powers that are all over all the world governments, is doing to us right now throughout the 4 corners of the earth. Now, Yarak, I need you to put up that the CNBC.com thing up there. You got it up there? I have to fast track this because I have to end it with what we need to do and how you must walk understanding this and where we are. I said years ago during the Path to the Mark that they have what you would call a satellite grid set up that's going to lead to them chipping every person, like when you scan your food, when you go to the supermarkets, quote unquote, this is what I said on the street, 2008, 2009. They already have the satellite systems in place. That's the only product that Satan haven't tracked yet, that hasn't been put on his grid to be tracked through his satanic internet global system, are people. I also said you're going to go into your supermarkets and the majority of the lines eventually will be self-checkout. And at the end of it, they'll have security or police at the entry and inside the stores, protecting the product. Now, did I know that it was going to use coronavirus? I didn't know, but I told you what it was going to be. And we're here. Now, when you look at your screen, this is mainstream media, news that was going on during the COVID crisis that none of you probably read. This was April. We're now in what? July. So you didn't know that this was going on in the midst of that. You thought it was about a disease, right? It says U.S. girds its satellite. Matter of fact, we put it up here for the brothers and sisters who are looking at it on the outside. U.S. girds its satellite communications infrastructure in space during coronavirus pandemic. A commercial traffic increase, U.S. officials worried about, blah, 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 blah. As commercial traffic increases, U.S. officials worry about political conflict in deep space. During the COVID-19 pandemic, tracking and protecting our nation's satellites from accidental crash or purposeful meddling is critical. Right now, 4 GSSAP satellites are in orbit, with 2 more scheduled to launch this year. They're part of an increasingly intense stare at the space beyond low Earth orbit, from geosynchronous orbit, or GEO, out to the moon. So now that it's showing, in the midst of the COVID thing, more satellites being placed out of the firmament, on the outside of our firmament. Now, when you look at these satellites, they look like some type of electronic thing with wings, right? Now, what I broke down years ago, 2009, on the street of the corner of 9th and Market, I said, well, listen, there's a company that may change their name, but their name at that time was called Digital Angel. Digital Angel. Because the watchers that came down before the flood had a cycle around the earth to watch people according to the heavenly command. These were watchers. From the sky, they can see anything they would like on the outside of the firmament, down to an atom they can watch. So since they fell and became the judges and gods and the powers over the Gentile nations, he would then build an artificial intelligence structure. And through this artificial intelligence structure, satellites, digital satellites, would take up the course that the fallen ones had before the flood. Artificial intelligence, watchers from our firmament, so that they can track each individual in the earth. The same as how the Most High can spiritually see all of his creation from heaven. Lucifer said he would be like God. But since he's lost his power, the celestial power, he must mimic the Most High through what? Artificial intelligence. Streaming, artificial intelligence, mark of the beast, Revelation 13. So, Satan had to find a way in which they could now test their mark of the beast system real time to make sure the infrastructure to now make people product can now be rolled out and have the glitches taken out of them before the majority of the earth is chipped. Cell phone. The most convenient computer. One of the greatest technologies this earth has seen. A computer in the palm of your hand. Not only a computer, a flashlight, an album book. I remember growing up when we had our own little personal album books we put our Polaroids in, saying we're going to, for these memories, to give to our children, marriages and all these things, all these different components. You don't need anymore. It's all here. It's you. Everything. You could be 5-6 miles away from your home and realize you lost your phone or you left your phone home. Where are you going? Back home. One of the most convenient tools since the creation of mankind. I have one for its convenience. It has made the landline a dinosaur. Now, if you don't have a landline because of your telephone, it's time to get one. For that one call you need. Let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you something. This is how it comes around full circle. Mark of the beast, mark of the man. Revelations 13. Mark of a man. They needed to put it in real time. This is everything. I haven't quantified. I will spend it all day telling you all that's in this thing. I bet you go into your phone right now and you'll find out there's something in that phone you didn't learn to use yet. Well, during the COVID-19, guess what happened at the same time this was going on? Eventually, a COVID update was put in all phones throughout the earth. All phones. A background working for the Mark of the Beast system. They did a lot of testing last year out of anywhere. No matter where you could be sitting around or whatever, and there was your phone would go off all the time last year, and you noticed that it was just weird. And they told you it was just an emergency to make sure it was on the grid and all that. And you would be around a crowd with 3 or 4 people, and their phones are doing it at the same time. And that was before coronavirus. Check this out. Now, like I said, Satan ain't forcing you to use it. It's a choice. It's convenient. It takes you off the grid if you don't have it. It's just there. Hey Lord, I didn't tell them. They just like Adam and Eve. That's what they chose. Yeah, the stream is on there, but it's good stuff. I ain't told them to be there at night going through those. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, and it's bad for our children because I remember being 12 and 13 years old with my friends, sneaking upstairs and all that, grabbing my uncle when he stayed over. He had Playboy and all that stuff. I remember grabbing that stuff, going out and playing with my friends, 3 and 14, looking at the middle cover and all that. Can you imagine what our children have access to now and what they're doing in your absence on the internet? Man, it would make what I was doing nursery rhymes. It's everything. Now we just heard about a thing, contract tracing. Now, you still got a right to your privacy. But through contact tracing, check this out. One, it's a requirement at your job that you take a coronavirus test. Now, are you forced to take a test? No, it's a choice because your employment cannot force a medical procedure on you because that's not a part of your employment contract. But nonetheless, it's you choosing to do it. Now, in order for them to do business, they may have other choices. But that's to be determined. That's not the part I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about is the data that your employee puts in the new COVID system that was now implemented through all businesses when businesses were shut down. The background program that linked in all the COVID systems for employment as a prerequisite of getting online and doing business now. So, the employer, negative or positive, you come in and say, okay, you gotta go and get a COVID test. 9 times out of 10, people be like, well, I'll do that. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But then what happens with the information? The employer plugs it into his computer to say this person did it, and they're done with it. That's their part. They're finished with it. There's nothing else. Their job is protected, and they know that this person is negative or positive. They've done their job under the COVID rules. But the question is, what are they uploading this to, and where do it go to, you might ask? Well, you all thought defunding the police was about George Floyd. Well, no. Under the new surveillance set up under COVID, they're going to need to release a certain number of police because the police are moving into a surveillance grid now, where they don't need to see you on the street all the time and engage you, because more things they're going to be doing is on the virtual side. So what happens is when it's uploaded into the database, the zip code of that particular person goes to the jurisdiction they live in, the precinct. So in that particular area, locally, law enforcement will know who's a threat in society and whether or not they're complying to the rules of quarantine for 14 days. And what happens is that goes on a grid in which a bot is put on that person and it's red. Now, the police comes in, looks at it, and he's just looking at it. Of course, there's no law that they got to engage people because they don't. They're just certain wings of government, of law enforcement, just have this for data collection. But then what happens is you live in a house with 4 or 5 other people. So guess what? Not only you are red, all their phones are online too, because if you got COVID 9 times out of 10, you may have caught it from someone in your house, and that multiplies what about to put on them, and now your whole house is red, and you're in the system, watching you like this. They're not watching you. They're not, it's not none of their business. They're not watching you. It's your phone. 5 red dots connected to your phone. And every place your family go, your children go, it multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. Now, if I thought that I was only affecting my house with a decision, that would be an easier decision to make. But everyone you come in contact with now is a possible COVID threat through contact location. Now, that's just for you to know how it goes. Now, of course, there's no engagement of people at this time, but you need to know that what they're doing according to the law isn't illegal. Because your phone is a separate contraction from you. These are the contracts they have to be able to do something with Microsoft, with Apple, with all that, with the phone companies and all that. So it's not illegal what they're doing because they're not infringing on you as a person. So under the Privacy Act, they're really not intruding on your privacy. You chose the technology and all that comes with it. So legally, they have a right to do this to protect themselves from a possible disease. But until everyone is chipped, in which they can check your temperature without a device and all these things, this is what will be used. Now, once they do the RFID chip, which is going to come, it's not going to be no need for the phone. Because they'll know your temperature immediately. Okay? It will morph and change your genetics to a degree that you wouldn't believe, and it will totally interfere, be a total interference between you and your God. And guess what? It's going to be a prerequisite for you to have this to get or be employed. So what they're rolling out now? The test. Here's the test. Who's going to choose their personal livelihood over everything else, including their faith, over their family, over those they come in contact with? Who will choose them? Because 9 times out of 10, these are the people that they might as well go straight to one of these shops and get the RFID chip now. Now, we are familiar with what we call the Faraday bags, the no signal bags. Now, I have a private conversation with y'all outside of this, and we want to talk about that. After this broadcast, I'll talk to you one-on-one. But there are Faraday bags or no signal bags, in which it's not illegal for you to put your phone into to protect your privacy. And but understand what's out there and how many people can be affected by your decision in fear of what's going on at your job. Okay? But what I just dropped is the reality. Is the reality. It'll multiply and multiply and multiply, and they'll see locally in this area is where people are gathering, and we have a positive COVID right here. That whole area is red. Let's go shut it down. Pre-crime. Minority Report. Now they have a full excuse to do so. You are a threat under a pandemic. Pre-crime. Minority Report, where the police, Tom Cruise and the black guy that was in it with him, they weren't all out on the street operating. They were doing everything from inside the precinct. The only time that they left is to go get the people who was a threat, who was the crime. See? Sounds familiar? So understand when you're making a choice. When you're making a choice, brothers and sisters, that you're not making a choice for yourself. And so, especially sisters, you're going to have to get your emotions in check. Well, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen if I don't do this? Lord, because women are security driven. But we're living in a totally insecure environment. You cannot be triggered emotionally and make a decision strictly off your emotions. In this time, you're gonna make it. You're gonna do a decision or make a decision you'll regret. And I use examples, personal examples. I used an example years ago, growing up, and I don't want my mom going to get mad at me, but I'm going to use her as an example real quick. There was a heinous crime that happened in North Philadelphia. My brother was a minor. He was in a car he wasn't supposed to be in. My brother was multi-talented. He didn't have to do some of the things. He was a natural talent. But he seemed like he didn't want to be the square or the guy I'm like, listen, that's not you. You can't survive in that realm. I'm like, listen, you're like me. Let's do music. Let's do something for ourselves. But he wanted street credibility, hanging out with the wrong people, guys that he knew he wasn't supposed to be hanging out with during the crack epidemic. He's in a car, twiddling his thumb to the back of the car. The guy I told him not to be in a car with, the family all knew, went and did a capital crime at a Chinese store right around the corner from my house. Right around the corner from my house. My brothers in the back of the car, they all get in the car saying, let's get on, man. They covered in blood. And then they drop my brother off in front of the house. He goes to sleep. My brother was like, knew what happened. Cops come, grab everyone, got all of them. One dude got the lethal injection. 2 dudes got the lethal injection. 2 guys life imprisonment. My brother, he was a minor. That's a whole other story of what it took to actually get it where he could actually be walking around right now. But this is how he was arrested. You know how he was arrested? Because he wasn't saying much. You know how he was arrested? Mom, I apologize. I got to put it out there because this is an example of someone emotionally unhinged, not realizing the consequences. They didn't get nothing from my brother. He did purpose just let him go. But they had my mother at the precinct saying, well, listen, it's easier if he talk, if he say this, if he say that. You know what I mean? And eventually he'll be let go. You know, but if he let go, at least him being a minor, he'll serve less, but he's going to have to talk. And my mother goes in there, may the Most High bless her soul, and I'll come down on her all the time, because everyone knows that those Mirandan rights are for a reason. Anything you say will be held against you. And that now you're taking away almost your right to fight in court. I would have rather, to some degree, him, if he's going to tell the truth, be there on the testifying for his life and saying, listen, I was driving with these guys. I have no idea they was planning to do this. It didn't even get to court. She sat down with my brother and said, Tony, God don't like ugly. Give him the truth, and the truth shall set you free, son. She broke down, my brother broke down, and the truth got him in the youth study center. Now, the Most High freedom where he's free from all that happened, but it was her, they knew they could trigger her emotions. That's her baby. That's her baby. And she thought she was doing the right thing. But the right thing under the law is to get a lawyer. That's the right thing. That's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be dishonest. But get a lawyer and find out what your rights are before you compromise your freedom. That's what our taxpayer, that's what our tax money pays for. easily triggered through emotion. And I'm going to tell you folks, like I said earlier, the racial triggers is the number one trigger Satan has in his back pocket to allow you to become emotionally unhinged and out of yourself. Never take the bite racially. From this day forward, sticks and stones apply forever because they're looking to bait you into their world. I don't care what no one say to you, as long as they don't put their hands on you. You can't be triggered because, man, they're going to use, they're going to be nigga, 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 nigga. Listen, you can sit there and say nigga, nigga all day to me. Okay? Because I'm above your adolescent behavior. I'm above your childish games. I have a greater mission than this. You can call me N-words all day. It means nothing. Just keep your body off of mine. Okay? If you touch me now, I will defend myself. Especially you sisters, don't be getting triggered. You know he's a racist, right? And what? So what? I don't care. Don't get triggered. You'll be drawn in. That's what's going on. They're drawing you in. Satan using racism. No, I'm good. Yes, sir. No, sir. Anything I can help you with? Okay, that's great. I'm going to give you some tips on what to do. Let's go to Christ real quick. Because Matthew 24:7-12 tells us that many shall be offended. You're easily triggered. No more getting reeled in through race baiting anymore. You are above that. You're not a child. They're going to trigger you in every area, even at your job. I remember there was a scenario when they was pushing the vaccines, the flu vaccine, on healthcare workers, like they're pushing what they're pushing now under coronavirus. Remember that? Where there was so much pressure on those that are nurses working in the healthcare field. Where they were going to try to shame you for not taking that deadly poison. So, if you don't take the vaccine, this is what they tell nurses. Then when you work, you have to wear the mask. Remember how they were shaming nurses with that? Where you're the only one sitting around and they're cackling and laughing at you. Now all of them have on masks right now. Don't you know what you enforce? And I'm showing you that as a small example. What you enforce and what you reap, you sow. It comes back on you. So don't you know if you was going to make someone else do that and humiliate them, that the devil was going to shame you too? You didn't know that? Now all the healthcare workers are wearing masks. The only difference is that sister was smart enough not to get poisoned. Time released diseases and cancers and sterilizations and all types of evil in those chemicals. And then I talked to someone years ago, well, they want to try to make me wear a mask. I'm like, what? And the reason I said what is, not thinking about what's emotionally pressuring her right now and what she's feeling. I'm saying what, because if this is moving you, you're definitely not prepared for what's going to go down in the future. If all you're worried about is being shamed at your job because of a mask, forget about it. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lloyd.
St. Matthew chapter 24, verse number 7.
Let's go straight to many shall be offended.
Yes, sir. Verse number 10.
Read.
And then shall many be offended.
Then shall many be offended, easily triggered. Easily triggered. What name did you call me? Oh, you're ignorant. You don't accept me. I'm in my safe space. Everyone is easily triggered with not any person laying one finger on them in this world of political correctness. Something has happened to us where you can easily just go from 1 to 10 over nothing. Temperamental. It's to a point where you can get a whole race of people in one country to vote against themselves by someone saying, well, the other guy, he's racist. They're like, well, okay, well, he's going to do this for me. He's racist, though. He's going to do this for me. But you killing my babies. But I'm not racist. You incarcerating the strong black men. Oh, yeah, I am. But I'm not racist. Because they understand the gravity of that word in respect of what we've been through from one generation to the next. It holds weight. It's a trigger. It's like a magic trick. If they say the word racist, common sense goes out the window. Don't be triggered over racism anymore. I'm going to show you. Many shall be offended. Read.
And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another.
And shall hate one another. And what is this? This is society turning on itself. You can't blame the government for that. They can put the tools out there. But now it's you tweeting and social media and emailing and going back and forth with each other. He just put it out there for you. But now it's you triggered responding. You can't blame the government for that. Easily triggered. Now let's go with Christ real quick. Matthew 5. Follow Christ through this whole ordeal, folks. You'll save you, you'll save your family, and others you, listen to this word, come in contact with. You can have somebody saying, well, hey, listen, I tell you what, man, hey, I do what I want to do. And he's sitting there, yeah, you listen, where you want to put the COVID stick at? All positive? Okay, I'll quarantine for 2 weeks. And that's fine. But this person will be so irresponsible that they'll just be around all these different people, not telling anyone they took a test, that they're actually being tracked. Go around their family, not even realize that their children are now being surveilled. So now that when school times comes, guess what? That red dot that was in the house with you who did the testing, that red dot is on your kid. Now, that same record that the precincts have, guess who else have? There you go. The schools have it. You thought you were just making one decision for employment. Now you have your child in all types of surveillances in situations where they can be separated from you. And all you thought you were doing was making one choice. And then guess what? They're not hiding what they're doing. What do they say? Contact tracing. Contact tracing. Contact tracing. They're telling you what they're doing. But you have a right to your own privacy not to utilize certain technologies that can compromise people you come in contact with. Right? And I'm glad I was able to convey a lot of this to you, because they're not going to tie two and two together for you. They'll just give you dribbles and drops out there, not tying anything together on how this will impact you. Now I'm not only just worried about how this is going to impact you, how it's going to impact your family, how it's going to impact your church family. China already have a rule where churches can't come together at all forever. So because the attack is against who? Those that keep the commandments and hold the testimony of Christ. Those that follow the Bible. I was on the phone the other day, and I was speaking to Elder Gabar and elders. I was on the phone, we was all talking about it as we got the detailed information. And it's like, well, listen, man, I fear what's going to go on with the people, and it may be a time to pack it in. I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to come up with measures, but we're going to have to think of something else for our people. Who knows? Maybe the Most High has a number he needs. When I say pack it in, not to stop what we're doing, but if it only takes one irresponsible person, a person that don't even hold any weight to the movement of this work, to come in and destroy everyone with an irresponsible choice. And we can't sacrifice those who labor for someone like that. Right? Let's read what Christ says, how to operate in these days. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Folks, let me tell you, like I said earlier, the games are over. And if you're easily triggered and offended easily, I'm going to tell you, you're going to really have to work. Let me put it that way. Work towards overcoming a serious fault. Which is hard-headed and stiff-necked real quick. You have it? I need that too. And the reason why I said sooner or later we have to wonder whether or not we have to pack up altogether to some degree, or to some measure that's more private. Let me put it that way. It's because in studying the Bible, I've learned something about our people. How great we are. We have internal renegades that they will feel it's their position to purposely go against the grain at the most inopportune moment. Now listen, I'm nowhere near Moses. And look what happened in the wilderness. And if they did this, if they did all level of disobedience and wickedness in the wilderness with Moses in the presence of the Most High there, I have to look at this and calculate and say, well, okay. They would have way less fear in doing certain things amongst us based on their emotions, being triggered, or can't nobody tell me nothing. Who's you? Who you think you are? I pay my own bills, this, that, and the other. All of that, folks, is the spirit we know continually exists and thrives amongst the children of Israel. And that's what we have to plan for. We're planning for that person, not the majority. That person is a reality. To know that, okay, some people are tested and all that, this is your job, whatever the case is. We're going to talk about how you can actually protect yourself, privacy, if you choose to get pressure to do certain things. I'll talk about that off record, off the broadcast with you. But these are people who would be right out and say, elders, listen, I had to do this. Tell me what I need to do to make sure the church is not affected by this. And what I was telling the lawyer, I was telling the other lawyer and the others yesterday was, yes, I'm day before yesterday, I was speaking with them. Yes, there'll be one or two, but we have to know that for everyone that tells us that they've done that, 3 or 4 are silent. That's what we have to plan for. So if one told us, there's 4. And that's what we have to plan for. The worst case scenario. And I can give you examples over and over and over when David went to war and the Most High told him not to take back anything back into the camp, because if it do, it will defile the camp. And you had guys who took gold that belonged to the treasury. They was partying with all they took. And what happened amongst David's camp? People just started dying off without David understanding why. They were just dying. And he says, Lord, what happened? I did everything you said do as your humble servant. I did exactly what you said do. I did exactly what you told us, Lord. He says, you did. But those you took with you didn't. There's sin in the camp, and the children of Israel are dying because of it. I have to bank on it and understand that this is a normal behavior amongst our people, whether I want to accept it or not. And I'm always looking at the bright side of every person and giving them the benefit of the doubt. But that's not the time we're in right now. Let's read it real quick, Elder Lloyd.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 32, verse 9. And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
It is a stiff-necked people. And if our God said that to Moses, now mind you, these are the people who just seen the Most High smite the Red Sea and kill Pharaoh and his army. Drowned them in the army. A pillar of fire between Pharaoh and the 12 tribes. So I have to calculate, I can't ignore that. There's a certain segment of our people, even with all their gifts, have this thing in them where it's this I do what I want to do and no one can tell me anything plague. And then after compromising, they'll come back with, well, it must have been a misunderstanding. That's us. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. I just did this. We know what you did. But it's time for us not to just think for ourselves. Think about our own livelihood and what's best for us as individuals. That's the mindset of a Babylonian. Let's finish reading. Let's go to Christ now.
Yes, sir. St. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16.
Read.
Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves.
I send you forth as sheep among wolves, brothers. This is what Christ is saying. Read.
Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves.
Be ye therefore wise in your dwellings, in your goings, and harmless. That means, folks, you're walking on eggshells in this chaos, navigating through to safety. That's what you're doing. You're not engaging as a Babylonian. You're not being triggered as a Babylonian. You're understanding every instance under this COVID thing, under the beast system, is a test by God. You may think what's going on at your job is an individual test. It's something that only has something to do with you. It isn't. Our faith will be tested on levels we've never thought about or planned for. And when anybody asks me what shall they do in a compromised situation, so that by my answer, they can now blame me if something goes wrong. Because that's what some people would like to do. It's one thing about getting advice. It's another thing about gaining an accomplice. So my answer, when people are in those compromised moments where they know the answer but can't stomach choosing that road, my answer will be what? What should I do in this instance? And my answer back is, what would Christ do? What would Christ do? If he was faced with that same situation you're coming to me with, what choice would he make? Folks, you know what time it is, especially for you brothers and sisters? And I'm just speaking mainly for you brothers and sisters in the church. Here, first, to you first. If someone looks to pressure you with a medical procedure, understand your rights through that. And what legal recourse you can make with someone pressuring you something you didn't agree with initially being hired. You have your right to do that. Number two, if someone is looking to do something against you unlawfully that would lead to years, over a year of straight payment to you through unemployment. If someone was to give you money 9 months straight to a year, and you need to go back to a job after that, I'm going to tell you, you were made to serve. If you know and calculate 9 months to a year of free money and can't do something to turn that dollar over, even when it comes to coming together with someone else, then what can we say? How much can we offer you in advice? Someone is giving you a ticket to step out in faith to utilize something that you didn't know what was in you. We've always wanted the opportunity to do that, do something for ourselves, right? And they're going to give you almost a year free money to do it. If you fall through that, then there's no one to blame but yourself, because you didn't plan beyond that 1 year of just straight money. That's the mindset the Most High is moving us into. He wants us to actually come out of our socialized mentality and work with our own hands and be glorified and show the Most High's glory through our works, through our mind, through our ingenuity. If we can build and work for this empire, how much more should we do for our own families, folks? So use this as an opportunity, not as a slight that someone's taking something from you. We need a mind shift, a mind change. It's not that I'm losing my job. What am I gaining? Because we're all going to be faced, who worked or who have to work, with tough choices. We all. Because eventually, when the mark of the beast come on the scene, you're living in the test run, it's going to be a requirement to work. Either you take the chip or you are out of a job. So if you can explain it off now, what's to stop you from explaining it off later? I see people already with built-in excuses saying, well, the RFID, that's not the mark of the beast. I had a young lady call me the other week that said the mark of the beast was money. I'm like, well, okay. She's going to be running around here like a bot, like an artificial intelligence in about 4 or 5 years. I'm like, okay, I see. You're not even going to live in your temple thinking that. You've already adjusted yourself to receive the mark if you believe it's money already. Come on, other lawyer, read it. Let's wrap it up.
Yes, sir. In the book of St. Matthew, chapter 5, verse number 38. You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Payback. So this is how you handle being triggered, emotionally moved. He says, you've heard that it has been said, eye for an eye. We're always looking out for payback, vengeance. Read.
Verse 39, but I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him also the other, or turn to him the other also.
Now, this is not talking about letting somebody beat you down. That's what Christ is talking about here. What he's saying is, no more tick for tack. Thinking that you have to have the last say and come back with whatever comes at you. You're not the person that always have to have the last word or come back when you feel you're slighted. It's okay to just let it be. It's all right. Nothing changed. I'm still living. So it's because Satan is using triggers to draw us in. To draw us in, folks. That's what this George Floyd and all this stuff is. These are triggers. Society triggers. Don't tell me you care about George Floyd when last year how many black people died in Chicago by the hands of black people. So when have you ever started caring about black lives, folks? So I'm not triggered because with this, and people think that he's insensitive. No, you're not pulling me in. You're not pulling me in. Because you never cared about black people. I'm supposed to think you care now? So you can draw me into your defund the police. They're not telling you that that money is just being moved from one place to the next to civilian. It's just a convenient excuse to get rid of police because they don't don't need them on the street anymore. They're moving into the next phase of the beast. Read on.
Verse 40. And if any man will sue thee at the law, and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also.
Look at that. Christ is like, listen, you have to be cool as ice through this. If you're down with me, you're not easily triggered. Satan will shoot fiery darts and engage you and bait you into his world and crush you. So this is what Christ did. He says, listen, I'm going to take it for you. Whipped with a cat nine tail. Spat upon. Knocked his eye almost closed. Dragged him. Had him bear his own cross. He says, listen, I did it for you. Every person that looks to do something against you, understand it's nothing near what happened to me for you. Keep your emotions in check. Well, he said this to me. What steps should I take? What steps did Christ take? Do you want to make it or what? Satan is triggering us. Be cool as ice. I told people last year, I think I said it in here, one of the last teachings I did before I was here this time, where I was sitting down. It was a gathering type of place, and this white guy, he was just looking at me, and it's a crowded area and all that. And he just looking at me and saying, "Yeah." He was just saying, I could tell he was trying to move me emotionally and trigger me. And I'm like, this dude, I'm in my mind, I'm like, what a child. He was a grown man, probably about 50 or something. But in my mind, I'm just looking at him, I'm like, he must think I'm like the others. And I'm just laughing, I'm looking at him. And then you can tell he's looking at me like, yeah, this guy, he's not acting like the rest. And then he says, by the way, how about Trump? I'm like, well, yeah, man. Trump doing some good things, isn't he? You could tell the look in his eyes like, I said Trump and didn't get a black reaction. I'm like, hey, doing some good things. I mean, he wanted to deal with the casinos in Atlantic City, right? Fine. And he was just looking at me. Eventually, he just went silent. What to do with a black man that isn't easily triggered? See? First of all, I was looking at him operating like a petulant child. That's how I viewed him. I didn't view him as no 50-some-odd-year white man. Like this guy, he's stuck on 22. He thinks this is a fraternity conversation or something. Folks, that's how Christ was cool. You should have seen him with Pontius Pilate. Like, I beat this guy. I beat him all the way to nothing. And you know what? He didn't smite me. He didn't curse me. He didn't say anything against me. And even the Gentile had to look at Christ and say, listen, I don't follow. I'm washing my hands of this guy. A lot of you would have been complaining. I'm getting my mama. I'm going to get my cousin. You think you're going to get away up? Christ was just, listen. I'm about to wrap this up, but I'm showing you all something, folks. The only way we're going to get through is apply Christ in all our decisions going forward when it comes to engaging this world. That's the only way we're going to make it. And understand how your emotional irresponsibility is going to affect everything, including how we even come together. So we have to have a trust system with one another that we're going to protect each other. Finish reading.
Verse number 41. And whosoever shall compel thee to go a mile, go with him twain. Give to him that asketh thee, and from him that would borrow of thee, turn not thou away. Jumping back to verse number 9.
Yes, read 9.
Matthew 9:5, verse number 9. Blessed are the peacemakers.
Blessed are who?
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Hold up. Blessed are the protesters.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Folks, I told everybody, folks, I don't want to go down this. I'm going to deal with it tomorrow in the academy. But they said Joe Biden has raised way more money than Donald Trump right now. And no one can't put two and two together. Not that I care. But folks, the protest was to raise money through Black Lives Matter, knowing that no one would have gave money to Biden, who shaped the crime bill to incarcerate black people. So they knew he wasn't going to get any financial support from the Democratic base. So they came with a trigger of protest so that you can put money into Black Lives Matter that can be siphoned into who? Biden's campaign. You've been used. Because no one was going to give him anything. We all know his background. We all know that there's people still sitting in jail through Biden's law. I'm just showing you this. So the Bible, Christ tell us what? Read it.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Blessed are the peacemakers, not the protesters. Okay? You've been infiltrated. They just needed you out there so that they can come in and steer this towards their political agendas against us.
That's right.
Read.
For they shall be called the children of God.
Those are the true children of God, those who can hold their temper and make peace, even in times of adversity. Don't think you got to argue back and fight. Listen, at the end of this, how is peace achieved through this? Read.
Verse number 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake.
Come on, that means you're dead right. And Satan is going to use some level of provocation or persecution against you to get you out of your safe space. And our safe space is Christ. Read.
For theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Come on.
Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you.
So men are going to revile you, but blessed are you. And persecute you, but blessed are you. Read.
And shall say all manner of evil against you
so
falsely.
So people are going to say stuff against you falsely, call you names, lie on you. Don't be easily triggered. They did that to Christ. Read it.
For my sake, verse 12. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you.
They did it to the prophets before us. So why are you triggered now? Don't let the devil use you for his political agendas. At the end of the day, all of this politics is leading to them destroying and coming against the righteous. Why play into that? Why play into that? How many people knew out there real quick that when you take these certain tests, that it was put in a database that go to your precincts where you live according to your zip code? How many of you knew that? Raise your hand. How many didn't know that? Raise your hand. That's a better one. That's the whole congregation. That Satan will actually threaten you by threatening to take away your livelihood. That's what all of this is really about. Has nothing to do with a flu or a cold, because you're in the job already. You're there already. He's there telling you, you gotta take a test. Well, if I had COVID, you would have it. You would have it too. We both are COVID then. How ridiculous is this? It's too late for the test, ain't it? I'm working. I'm here today. Read.
Verse 13. Ye are the salt of the earth.
You are the salt of the earth. Keep in mind, the Most High will take care of you. You must now kick in and use what He's blessed you with. That beautiful mind. That beautiful mind. If the devil takes something from me, or he hold a job over my head or something, how can I use these resources to make sure I'm never compromised like this again? How can I use these resources? Now it's time to use what's in you. And break our socialized mentality. The Most High must break that mentality. Because that's the mentality that leads to freedom. We've been too secure here. The Most High must break that. Finish reading.
You are the salt of the earth.
You are the salt of the earth. Folks, let me tell you. Every time I get something to eat, I'm going for that salt. Especially when I was in England. I'm like, who cooked this? The devil himself? How can you not have salt in your food? I'm going to tell you right now. The Most High tell you that we are the spice. We are the flavor. I mean even growing up, before I even knew how to actually get it all right, at the age of 5 and 6, when someone put some plain grits in front of me, man, let me tell you, I had a whole science project on how these grits would go down. And I remember that at 5 or 6 years old, I would take my big spoon and push it in the middle. Take about this much of butter and put it there, and then look at that thing just run down. And then take the salt on top of that thing as it's running with the black pepper. Y'all remember that? Now, no, listen. America is those grits without what I did. Okay? So you are the salt of the earth. Realize if you didn't acquiesce to everything, voluntarily, they would have to switch it anyway, because none of these jobs can survive without you. Understand that. You bring the flavor. And that's another thing. I don't understand how people so rich in spirit not understand their value and what we have to bring to this thing. And I'm not even talking about what the Most High does in us. I'm just talking about the flavor. Christ says, listen, you are the salt of the earth. You're the flavor of the earth. I don't know no other people, no other nation could have went through what y'all gone through and survived. And celebrated and shaped a culture. And carved out a culture amongst yourselves in captivity. And still thrive through all oppression, hatred, and racism. Think about it. Out of slavery came gospel music. I'm listening to y'all sing today, and I'm like, what? And you know, at the plantation, they sit there listening, and you know, the plantation owner, like, what they singing? I mean, I didn't go into a church like the Catholic Church where you open up a book and everybody's, I'm like, listen, shut it down. I mean, you can see the church bouncing when we was coming up. The church was moving. That's the salt of the earth. And out of that, jazz. An artwork that only came through our people. When they made a piano, they didn't know what Little Richard was going to do with that thing. When they made the guitar, they had no idea what Chuck Berry was going to do. On and on and on and on and on. We're the salt of the earth. That means we've always, through our spiritual resource, made it when all people thought that there was no way that it could happen. You think we're any different now? I need y'all to think about that. What we're fighting against is our socialized programming. But it's time to kick back into that resource that made us who we were, even in the makings of America. We have to put down our fear, not be easily triggered, keep these commandments, and trust one another. I'm going to tell you, folks, we're going to make it through. You are the salt of the earth, is what Christ says. Don't let no one get you out of your safe zone. Christ is our safe zone. Don't trigger me, devil. Don't provoke me, devil. I'm not playing your games anymore. Not even your racism games. Use the N-word until perpetuity, if you would like. It has no effect on me because I know who I am. I'm an Israelite. I'm not a nigger. So you can't trigger me. This is my safe space. My safe, because they would like to talk about their safe space. We have ours, Christ. Finish reading.
You are the salt of the earth.
You are the salt of the earth.
But if the salt have lost his savor,
but if you're losing your flavor,
wherewith shall it be salted?
How can now the earth be salted? Use who you are, what you are, the God who loves you. Be who God made you. You're the salt of the earth. You're losing your flavor is what Christ is saying. Through fear, through pressure, being provoked. Do you not trust the God that made us? Read on.
It is therefore, or thenceforth, good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men.
Come on.
You are the light of the world.
You are the light of the world. Now, I don't even want to talk about hip-hop and R&B and everything else. All the pop music right now, folks, is 90s R&B. All the pop stuff you're hearing right now that they're doing in Europe over here was 90s R&B. You are the light of the world. Read.
Verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel,
Come on.
but on a candlestick, and giveth light unto all that are in the house.
Come on.
Let your light so shine before men.
Let your light shine before men. Stand in faith. Let the whole world see how our God respond in this time. But we must take that initial step so that they can see through our faith the power of our God. Let your light shine. Read.
Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
And glorify your Father, because the other nations will see the difference in you, the believers. And they will begin to turn away from their God to follow yours. I have a question. Are you ready? Yes. Now, there's a few things I'm going to talk to you about personally that I can only do outside of the broadcast itself. I want to thank all you in YouTube land for joining us. And we have our Hebrew and Bible Academy tomorrow for those. You are all invited. We're going into the creation of the universe, but we're going to pull out some stuff you wouldn't believe. We're going to pull out the levels to the Most High's throne to illustrate to you the control hub that's from heaven that created everything we see today. The control hub of the Almighty, starting with his strong throne, and show you how the Masons tried to mimic that in their temples and why. We're going to also go into the fallen realm of the deep to show you what materialized out of the deep. How did that deep begin? And how Leviathan and Behemoth was made out of that deep also. And what is the end for them? Why were they created? And what's going to happen at the end with Leviathan? Now, just to give you a little tip, Leviathan is rogue. When I say he's rogue, even Satan fears Leviathan. So, and when you get into tomorrow, I'm going into the spirit of the deep and chaos to show you how the Most High would make something to bring some balance even against the adversaries. Tomorrow, the Hebrew and Bible Academy, you don't want to miss it. Go to historytimes.org if you want to enroll. Okay? It's only $50 a month. We already broke it down to let you know how much it is. It breaks down to, in 3 months, $1.37 a day. That's all it is. For 3 months, it's $1.37 a day. We already broke down the numbers. That's nothing. So you don't want to miss it because we're going into the creation of the universe, identifying the God's throne, the Most High's throne, the construct of it. And you know, I went into time and the bending of time. You know I'm going into that. And Leviathan, Behemoth, and the fall of the gods. This is going to be a 2-week lesson, one after the other, from the creation of the universe to tracing Satan's seat. The gods are now ruling on earth, week 2. So you don't want to miss that. So before I cut them off, let me say this. Who all have Faraday bags or no signal bags for their phones? Who doesn't have them? Okay. Well, what we're going to do Monday, I'm going to come in here with a team because we have our own materials to be able to make them ourselves. And we wanted to do that just in case something happened online where people can't order them no more. More people may come into the church and people can't have access to it. Well, we're going to have them. They're going to be called no signal bags that we're going to make ourselves. Okay? So we're going to make these for phones as well as other electronic devices like computers or whatever the case is. And you'll have access to be able to get them directly from our Gathering of Christ Church site. And we'll have them there and you can just get them, order them. And just like we do the calendars, they'll go out to you. All right? And because it's time that we start building inwardly and circulating the finances inwardly, because we know, just like the money came to us inwardly, we can do something like this and make something to protect each other. All right? And if you have one already, that's fine. If you want to get it, you'll have the options to do so, okay? But how we're going to be operating going forward in our individual churches has been discussed with the elders, the regional elders, and it's being relayed to all the congregations. Exactly how I'm going to do in a couple of moments to you with with Bishop Amath with us also. Okay? Because with gathering under these new laws and rules, we have to understand not to compromise each other through this. Because that's what they're really trying to stop church. That's the real thing they're looking to roll out and stop church altogether. Now, if they do that, through what we went through the last 3 months,